Hey, Assalamu alaikum. In this video, we will understand about the role of reactive oxygen species and carbonyl stress. Later on, we will understand about the carbonyl stress, but first of all, we will understand the reactive oxygen species. For example, the environmental sources like smoking and the alcoholism, UV radiation, as well as the indoor cooking, airborne pollution, car exhaust fume, which that produce carbon monoxide. That is the toxic poisoning carbon monoxide basically will lead to increase the reactive oxygen species due to the hypoxic shock, due to the less oxygen consumption, due to the carbon monoxide. So the carbon monoxide bond tight, not allowed to oxygen bond with the hemoglobin. So a cellular sources can be inflammatory cells like neutrophils, mast cell activation, and macrophage, as well as the epithelial cells dysfunction and endothelial cell damage. So anyhow, let's understand about with the cell. So for example, the hypoxemia will occur in the blood. So the hypoxemia means the low level of oxygen. Ultimately, a cell will lead to decrease the oxygen consumption, means the hypoxia, the low level of oxygen. The low level of oxygen is known as hypoxia will trigger the HIF-1 alpha, hypoxic inducible factor 1 alpha, basically which that inhibit the mitochondrial function, but the PGC1 alpha is functional for the mitochondrial biogenesis. In this way, the HIF-1 alpha will inhibit it. So the increase HIF-1 alpha due to the hypoxia. In this, here is the mitochondria. So the environmental stress and cellular inflammatory stress will lead to inner mitochondrial membrane dysfunction and the outer mitochondrial membrane also, but the inner mostly. So the mitochondria will not consume too much oxygen. How it is possible? We will understand the whole picture. So the hypoxia and hyperoxia both are dangerous because the high level of the oxygen and the low level of the oxygen basically the both is dangerous. So let's understand about that. Mitochondria produce reactive oxygen species and the superoxide as well as the hydrogen peroxide. Basically, both are reactive oxygen species containing compound. Basically, it will target to the plasma membrane, will lead to tissue damage and the lipid peroxidation, which that progress and the chain reaction for the damaging of the whole tissue. So it should be less, not inhibit the reactive oxygen species, but it should be less. So the basically antioxidant consumption will decrease this DNA damage and reactive oxygen species prevention by the antioxidant like the glutathione, vitamin A, vitamin C, as well as the other thing is that. On the other hand, the organelle damage. So the carbonyl stress will occur. The carbonyl stress means the basically a carbonyl group containing tissue containing compound will be reactive oxygen species will lead to increase the electron as a free radical. So this is known as the carbonyl stress. The carbonyl stress also damage the mitochondria further. So remember, the low level of the reactive oxygen species can be prevent the oxidative stress. So in this way, this carbonyl stress will lead to autoimmune induction, pro-inflammatory signaling, mucus hypersecretion, and DNA damage. On the other hand, basically the carbonyl stress will lead to muscle dysfunction and the impaired steroid function. So this basically is the mechanism. So the carbonyl stress is not good. So on the other hand, let's understand about the electron transport chain. So what will be happen? So for example, the hypoxia, the low level of oxygen will inhibit the PGC1 alpha. Basically, it is important for the repair of the mitochondria. While on the other hand, the glycolysis, so the PGC1 alpha will inhibit, so the repair of the mitochondria will inhibit. So in this way, the hypoxia will trigger the glycolysis, the anaerobic fermentation to produce pyruvate, lactic acid, and produce ATP quickly from the glycolysis and lead to decrease the pH. So the acidosis will occur as well as stress. The acidosis will basically increase the cancer causing gene activation and other process because it should be basically extracellular matrix will be dysfunction due to the pH change. Here is the electron transport chain. Required oxygen to convert H2O, but low oxygen will not convert, and in this the reactive oxygen species formation because the less oxygen will consume extra electron to convert the superoxide. So in this here is the electron. So NADPH pump out the proton and donate the electron to the quinone to ubiquinone to convert ubiquinol, and in this the complex 3 complex 2 involved for the FADH2 to conversion the FADH and donate the electron to pump out the proton, but the complex 3 will leak out the electron to donate the oxygen, and in this the oxygen will become a superoxide. On the other hand, the O2 not converting to the H2O easily because of less oxygen. In this way, the superoxide dismutase enzyme deficiency and the glutathione peroxidase so will convert into the water. But important thing is that will be possible, but it is more reactive oxygen species conversion into the water is difficult. So glutathione is important. So the chronic obstructive pulmonary pathogenesis also occur due to this DNA damage, hypoxia, hypoxemia, inflammation, mitochondrial dysfunction, and stress. So important thing you need to understand is that the less oxygen will consume the electron extra to become a reactive oxygen species. See in the next video for this time. Bye. Allah Hafiz.